You've gone through that assessment, you've validated this person is the right person to be joining your organization. What happens then? Because I know people are really struggling, employers and employees are struggling with the whole remote or virtual onboarding process. What are your suggestions around kind of a checklist of things to knock off?
Walking through an office to an interview room gives you a sense of what that organization is like, at least at a high level, right? Because you can look around, you can see what the office is like, you can see other people. Hopefully those people look happy. Whereas there's no virtual walking through an office, right? So, how many people can you practically involve in a recruitment process that still add value? It's not just, rolling out team members for the sake of it.
Yeah.
And then also I've heard of organizations who are encouraging their new hire before they even start to join a few team stand-ups, just to get more of the kind of the feel around what the organization is like. But why? So coming back to your question, so why? What is difficult about remote onboarding? I think that it kind of goes back to an earlier point, which is around you've got to be structured with everything. Nothing is accidental in a remote environment. So I think what the challenge around virtual onboarding has highlighted that a lot of the in-person onboarding that's been done in the past has been extremely ad hoc. How often has this situation happened where the HR person on a Friday afternoon goes to the manager, oh, hey, you have a new person starting on Monday. They go like, oh, yeah, of course. It's been 4 weeks since I've made that offer. So it's just totally slipped my mind. Monday morning rolls around, the new person is kept busy for a few hours with some paperwork, a meeting or two, but then they're largely left to their own devices. And new learning in an office environment happens accidentally. So maybe they're just sitting next to somebody who they can job shadow. Or the manager comes and goes, oh, hey, I'm working on this, so come and join me on this. Whereas with virtual or being remote, there's literally nothing accidental. And so I think that's what has been tripping a lot of people up, is that you really need to be quite proactive about it.
Yeah, and so what do you, in an ideal world, what does that onboarding kind of look like? What have you used previously?
So I think there's two different elements. I think there's firstly helping the person feel oriented within the organization. So meeting people. Again, there's no accidental socializing. You're not going to bump into anybody at a coffee machine. You're not going to bump into anybody over lunch. And until you have a deliberate social interaction with someone virtually, everyone just looks like names and photos in Slack. And that's really overwhelming. Speaking as somebody who onboarded in a remote organization, you see all these names and all these photos and you're like, who are all these people? So I think it's about being really deliberate. So if you've got a new person starting, okay, who are they going to need to meet in their immediate team? That's an easy one, right? So I think it's really important to book out that person's calendar for the first, couple of days or even a week with different one-on-ones with everyone who they're going to be working super closely with, just to get to know them like you would taking the team out for a coffee, right? And then going beyond that, okay, so they're probably going to need to work with our customer success team. Who can I introduce them to from customer success? Who can I introduce them to from marketing? Because ultimately what that does is, help the person make connections in different parts of the organization. So they know some of those names in Slack. And then the second part is obviously the job specific stuff. So how can they get up to speed quickly in terms of the work that they're going to do? Because we all want to be productive and add value quickly. That's what we're there to do. And without having a clear plan around that, you can feel like you're flailing. And so I'm a big fan of, as basic as this sounds, I'm a big fan of just a really solid 3-month plan with different focus areas for the different months. So month 1, cool, what we want you to wrap your head around in month 1 is these particular things, and you start getting your teeth into these particular projects.
So it's setting expectations.
Right? Just setting expectations.
So it's an understanding about what that person has to do, and then what their manager's going to be asking them about.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't have to be super black and white. It can be a living, breathing document that evolves over the course of that person's 3 months. But I think, it serves a couple of different purposes. It helps, say somebody has maybe it's your second week and you've got a spare bit of time on your hands. Nothing's been scheduled for you. You're still getting yourself up to speed. Being able to flick back to a 3-month plan and go, oh, cool. In my first month, I needed to wrap my head around this. I haven't really started on that yet. So let me try and dive into that now so I can, help get my feet under the desk. But I think, in my experience, that proactivity around what that first person's 3 months actually looks like can be quite rare in terms of how much it's actually done in real life. But again, no learning happens accidentally in a remote environment, so everything's got to be really proactive and planned out.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're talking about there is giving that person structure, right? Giving them some guardrails, setting them some expectations, making sure that you're front-footing their level of comfort in the organisation, making sure that they are building up the right relationships right from the get-go. And so that sounds like it needs to be an approach which is probably established before you even start to try and virtually even recruit someone, right? That everyone's on board with this, every hiring manager, every team member understands what this is all going to look like, so that you can create an experience of someone that's genuine and authentic, but also well structured, so that their success is being held in mind as well as the organisation. Yeah,
for sure. I'm also a really big fan of, in that new person's first couple of weeks, is daily 10-minute catch-ups with their manager. Hey, what did you learn today? Who did you meet? Where were you blocked? Yeah. Because we all, when we're onboarding in a new role, we all have a million questions. And it's really hard to be that person that is DMing your manager questions all day, every day, just ding, ding. You don't want to bother them. They're busy. But if hey, I catch up with Jules for 10 minutes every day, I know that I can save my questions for here. And it makes that whole question asking experience a lot more comfortable. And if we're comfortable to ask questions, ultimately we're going to onboard ourselves faster.
And just to kind of round things off, are there any kind of typical failures that people make that aren't kind of counter to what you just talked about?
I think the biggest probably thing that we haven't talked about is almost on the new hire side in terms of making mistakes. I think if I speak from my own personal experience, I put a lot of pressure on myself really quickly in my first kind of remote role to be really productive really fast. I was like, I need to be nailing everything, and I need to be on top of it. Yeah, you're really hard on yourself, and you want to feel productive really quickly. But the reality is that you're going to have a ramp up period. But when we're at home, we don't have that I got to the office at 8 and I'm leaving at 4. I've done a good day, and I can feel good about going home. Because as much as we don't clock watch, I think unfortunately within an office context, you do feel I've had a pretty good day today because I've done a lot. Whereas when you're at home, the only thing that you have to measure your output or measure your productivity for the day is what tasks did I cross off my list. And when you're new, guess what? You don't have a lot of tasks to cross off your list. So I think that one of the only other big mistake that we haven't really covered is that as somebody new who's being onboarded in a remote way, you just can't be too hard on yourself. And you can't expect yourself to be contributing at 100% on day 2.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, look, thank you so much for your time today. That's a whole bunch of rich information. In our next catch up, we're going to talk about kind of the management and the capability development of those virtual and remote workers, and then we can talk about kind of the performance and the tooling that's required to be able to effectively manage those teams. So, thanks very much today, Vanessa. Appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.